I debated doing this video because there's a lot of people who have a lot of emotions about the Saudi show. I am currently now a supporter of WWE in Saudi Arabia. If you want to see why I hated the Saudi shows and then I became a supporter of the Saudi shows, that will be at the end of the video. But right now, I want to talk about why I'm actually concerned once more that these Saudi shows could be a bad thing. But first, let's talk this beautiful belt right here and you beautiful subscribers out there, or you unsubscribers out there. The way to get this belt is to comment below and to become a subscriber. But commenting below, being a subscriber, hitting the notification button, all those things will help me become full-time. And once I hit 10,000 subscribers, I'm going to give this belt away. And then once you have this belt, you can go to Saudi Arabia and challenge for the Crown Jewel Championship. You have to buy your own Saudi ticket. But now, I need to talk about my concerns about Saudi Arabia and the Crown Jewel Championship. And my concern is this. The Saudi government is paying a lot of money. They are paying so much money that I think they get to call some shots. And you're like, no way. WWE wouldn't let them call any shots. Are you sure? Are you positive? So far, since 2018, they were able to create a 50-person Royal Rumble. I've never seen a Royal Rumble take place just willy-nilly any time of the year until Saudi Arabia. And it had to be the biggest. It just couldn't be a standard 30-man, couldn't be a standard 40-man because there was already one of those. It had to be 50 people. They wanted Yokozuna, who had been dead for 18 years, R.I.P., loved Yokozuna, but when they couldn't get him, they just hired some random sumo guy to go in there in his stead. Hulk Hogan was fired from the WWE, and guess where he returned? Saudi Arabia. Because, hey, those guys are huge WWE fans. There's no question that the Saudi people, the Saudi princes, and the Saudi officials love WWE, and they probably loved Hulk Hogan and said, we want Hogan back. That's speculation on my part, but all I know is that Hogan was fired, and he returned in Saudi Arabia. Shawn Michaels retired. Best retirement of all time. Well, that is until the Saudi government wanted HBK to wrestle, and wrestle he did. Horribly. That match was so bad. And you can say all day long, well, Shawn Michaels, you know, he could have not done it. You're right. He could have not accepted the money, but I'm just saying this. When they want something, they're gonna get something. They love Goldberg, right? The Fiend is in his championship run. The Fiend is unstoppable, but so is the Saudi money. And they can just pour it in and say, we want Goldberg to beat the Fiend, and poof, we have Goldberg now squashing the Fiend in what, 4 minutes? The Fiend was unstoppable, and yet Goldberg just beats him. But that all seemed to kind of start to go away. These one-offs, these crazy little spectacles. The last PLE, King and Queen of the Ring, was very well done. It was a great PLE that made total sense. You could pick up King and Queen of the Ring that was held in Saudi Arabia and put it anywhere in the world and it would have made sense. Other than when the ring announcer got involved, other than that little moment, it was a pure WWE show, booked by WWE, everything. But now that Crown Jewel has introduced its own championship belt, that is huge. I personally don't like the look of it, but who cares? If you like the look of it, great for you. But what I don't like is that this championship exists. I didn't like it when we were doing it for Survivor Series or Night of Champions or wherever it was, when it was like brand warfare, champion versus champion, because that makes one champion look weak. But my fear is this, and it was actually the hot take video that this came to my attention. It was from a subscriber. Luck as Neo, paraphrasing here, said that the Saudi government pays so much money that they can now have a direct result in storylines by picking who they want to fight for this championship. So you could say, well, it doesn't really affect storyline. Even if the Saudis are like, we want Cody to win, okay, Cody beats Gunther somehow and they go on their merry way. But what if the Saudi government said something along the lines of this? You know what? Gunther isn't really that established. What if we got someone bigger? What if we got CM Punk? as our champion. Triple H goes, well, I don't know. We've got all these storylines going on. And then the Saudis are like, yeah, well, we're paying all this money. We want CM Punk. There's a YouTube channel who really put it well. They're called Wrestle Talk. WWE has changed their model from wanting to please the fans to wanting to please their business partners. WWE is now business friendly than they are fan friendly. Yes, the fans are buying the tickets, but guess who's buying the tickets in Saudi Arabia? It's the Saudi Arabian government. They're the ones who are paying for everything. And I don't mind if when the French host Backlash, or the Australians host Elimination Chamber, or when the Saudi Arabian government hosts Crown Jewel and they say, hey, I would really like Roman to be there, I'm okay with that. Hey, what can we do to get Roman here? That would be awesome. We're paying a lot of money. I'm okay with that. But when they start crossing the line and saying, hey, we created a championship belt and we want your two champions to fight over it, and I want the champions to be that guy and that guy, well, to me, that crosses the line, and I'm very, very concerned. Even though Gunther Punk is probably going to happen at Survivor Series, they have to speed it all the way up in order to get it for Punk versus Cody. And my fear is the Saudi government can be a kingmaker now and pick who they want as champion to go into their Saudi event and have champion versus champion, and that could disrupt a lot of storylines. Imagine if someone like Dominic Mysterio finally got the title in like a year or two, right? He's a chicken heel, but he gets the title, and it's going to be like a 6-month program with him just kind of weaseling his way out of victories, countouts, disqualifications, cheating to win every single moment, and Triple H has it booked all the way to December, but the Saudis are like, yeah, it's not believable for Dominic Mysterio to fight someone like Roman Reigns, because we'll say that Roman Reigns is champion at the time, or we'll say Jacob Fatu is the champion at the time. They're like, we're okay with the SmackDown champion, but we're not okay with Dominic Mysterio being our champion walking into this event. There's just no way it's believable for him to fight for the crown jewel, because we don't want Dominic Mysterio holding that title. And so now they can say, well, Triple H, we are okay with Brock Lesnar, we're okay with Drew McIntyre, and we're okay with Damian Priest as champion. You can have your pick then. And now Dominic Mysterio would lose the title in this scenario. I am afraid that this championship is going to give the Saudi government too much power in this realm, because they know wrestling. They really do know wrestling. Everybody who knows wrestling thinks they're a booker. Look at me. I do fantasy booking on this channel. You don't think they do fantasy booking either? Every single wrestling fan does fantasy booking, and they have the money, though, to actually affect it. And I don't like that. I liked that we were getting away from these crazy 50-man Royal Rumbles and dream matches of just decrepit old Goldberg versus Undertaker. I was glad we were getting away from that and actually going to mainline storylines for these PLEs. You might be like, you're worrying too much. Am I? Am I? Because there's a report from Matt Camp. Matt Camp, he was a co-host of The Bump. That was a WWE Network show, so he was privy to a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, and now he's on YouTube, and he's kind of revealing things. Now, he does seem to have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, but he doesn't seem to be releasing any misinformation either. So, while, yeah, he might be a little disgruntled, nobody has come out and said he's a liar. So, with that said, I'm taking him at his word that WWE changed and pivoted directly off of what the Saudis said as late as 2023. Seth Rollins winning the World Championship should not have happened when it had happened. Originally, it was going to be the King and Queen of the Ring that was going on at Night of Champions, but the Saudis said, you know what, that's not big enough. And then Triple H must have had to pivot, had to either create the world title or speed up the process of the creation of the world title to make Seth Rollins the champion and appease the Saudi government. Now, don't get me wrong. It turned out really great. Triple H, he took a bad situation and made something good out of it, but we can't always do that, or we can't always rely on that to happen. I don't want somebody who just has a lot of money being able to dictate what is going to happen, and I don't know, it's scary. And again, I'm not just hating on these Saudi shows because they're Saudi shows. I told you in the beginning of the video that I actually was very much against the Saudi shows at first, but then I became a supporter, and the reason why I was against it was because the first show in 2018 had no women involved. WWE was doing a bang-up job of saying the women's revolution, women's wrestling had come back. It was a renaissance, like, for decades. The women's division was a joke, and suddenly they were just showcasing it, and it was awesome and amazing, and I loved it. And then we had a Saudi show that was like, no women allowed. And I was like, what? That was one of the few instances where I was very close to just turning away from WWE in general. And you can say I'm a hypocrite because I didn't, and I was against it, and I spoke up against it, but I still watched it. So if you want to call me a hypocrite for that, that's fair, and you can. However, slowly but surely, I turned my opinion around because it was either the next Saudi show or the Saudi show after that, women started getting on the card. And if you look at the last Saudi show, when Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair win, there's a huge pop. So social change is actually happening because of WWE. Sometimes you gotta drip feed things, otherwise it's completely revolted against. Even though I just talked a lot of smack about the Crown Jewel Championship, at the end of the day, the Saudi government has created a World Championship Wrestling belt for women. That is huge. I can't even imagine what it would be like for a little girl in Saudi Arabia to see women wrestling. Is it perfect? No. I can tell that they are not wearing the clothes that they want to wear. I have heard that the women wrestlers, they don't get the same liberties that the men wrestlers do on their off time. So there is still a long way to go, but now I'm more willing to do a give and take, because it seems that once you introduce the idea, the floodgates open. And I feel that the WWE in Saudi Arabia right now is actually a very positive thing for social change. But my fear, though, is still alive that while, yes, that is a good thing, I'm also afraid now of WWE Creative being disrupted still, though. That now is very, very prevalent. But what do you guys think? Do you think I'm overreacting? Do you think I'm underreacting? Do you think it's a good thing, a bad thing, whatever thing? I want to know what you have to think about this video in general. But I do stress, please, keep it classy. There's no need to insult people whatsoever. If there's actual vileness, I will delete your comment, and then you won't have an entry to win the championship belt. So please, let's just, like I said, keep it classy. Guys, girls, have a great day.